You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Lift podcast. Please give us a like, share, subscribe to the YouTube account. We are on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. All the podcast links are in there. We also have an apparel line. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official handle. We're on Facebook, Dads Who Lift Podcast. We also have a Dads Who Lift fitness group on Facebook that's Dads Who Lift Official. A group of 30,000 like-minded dads that are just trying to be their best selves and staying fit. If that's something you're into, please check it out. But we do this stuff for free, guys, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We really appreciate your support. You are now tuned into the Dads Who Live podcast. You have your host, Tyler Gaeta.
Co-host Joel Staley.
So, I just got back from the Arete Syndicate. The fuck was that? Last week?
Yeah.
Summit, yeah. Well, the Syndicate Summit.
Yeah,
last week. Where actually went to, what was it, a 4-day deal? I think it was a 4-day deal. Where went to First Form, got personally coached by Andy at Milet. We had Cindy and Pink CEO there, which is a badass female billionaire entrepreneur. Check her out if you've never heard of her. But she started a pharmaceutical company, sold her first company for $500 million, sorry. Then started a second one that she actually had passion for, sold the $500 million one, started a second one, turned that into a $1 billion company, and then ended up getting it back for free. So that was a pretty crazy story. Joe Montana was there, Rick Divinity. There was a lot of good speakers and a lot of good shit. But so I got to see First Form headquarters, First Form tour, meet all those dudes. I went to Andy Vercella's house, went to Vercella Farms.
How was his house? Was it pretty?
It's dope. It's fucking dope.
They kind of amp you up.
Yeah, it's sweet. Yeah, it's badass. So, but what I want to talk about is the thought of going big. And this is exactly what, you called me, I think day 2 when I was down there just checking and see how everything's going. And what's the first thing I said to you?
You texted me, you're like, dude, we need to start thinking bigger.
Yeah. I said, we're not thinking big enough.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so what I realized is every single thing, and this might not be the longest podcast ever, but it's impactful. It's important. So every single thing that I've ever wanted, thought about, or manifested, which is pretty much the same thing. You want it, you think about it, you manifest it, has come to reality. Opposed to my fucking wife, which that one I think is just going to come when it comes. But that's pretty much the only...
She's not born yet.
Yeah, fuck you, dude. That's nasty. No, that's not the case. But everything else I've ever manifested has come to fruition. And actually, a lot of them that I've been manifesting the last 4 or 5 years have come to fruition this year. I just bought my first Airbnb. I finally got a fucking pool at my house with a gated, well, I don't have my gate completely up yet, but everything's there, gated estate with the fucking badass pool, dope ass house, my son's happy, everything I've ever manifested, money's coming to me, more money than I've had ever, has come to fruition. So this got me thinking, when I'm walking around First Form, and First Form is just, it's amazing, man. It's huge. There's not one detail. Shout out to Andy Vercella. Shout out to First Form. There's not one detail that's overlooked. I mean, the place is fucking just immaculate and perfect. And I mean, even the bathrooms you could fucking eat off the floor in the bathrooms. I mean, there's employees coming in. The fucking front windows were so fucking clear. I about walked through one of them.
Wow.
The little glass door, next to the door, there's a big glass pane window next to it. So fucking clear about walk through one of them. And the employees are just sitting there the whole time we're walking in and out. The girls are up front just cleaning the glass. There's people coming in between piss breaks and of the class summits, wiping down the bathroom counters and stuff. And basically it just got me thinking if everything that I've ever wanted or manifested has come to light, or almost everything I've ever wanted or manifested has come to light, then that means that really anything that I would ever want or manifest would come to light, right? I mean, it just goes hand in hand. So you walk into a place like that, you see not only a place like this that's immaculate with no detail untouched, but just the way that it's ran. And that's what I said to myself is, man, I'm just not thinking big enough. It's easy to sit there and say, I want to have a 6-figure income, or I want to have a $1 million business. Or whatever it may be that your hopes and dreams aspire to. But a lot of times I think what holds everybody back and what I mean, I feel like I think pretty fucking big, you know. But regards to other people, like maybe Andy Frisella, I'm thinking peanuts compared to what he's thinking. And the crazy thing is too, I just had a coaching call last night with him too for a REIT syndicate. I don't know if you watched that one or not.
Not yet. I got to watch the replay today.
But he said last night that he owes zero on everything that he owns. He has zero debt. That fucking brand new building, they're building another building across the street right now because they've already outgrown it in a year that's the same size. So they're gonna have 2 buildings, but zero debt on any of that. You know what I mean? To be able to build something to that capacity and do it with zero fucking debt is amazing. And that just goes to show you that it's possible. And if it's possible, if he can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. Anybody can do it. Sorry, I got fucking something stuck in my throat this morning. I don't know what's going on, but so that's my big thing. Think big. Whatever I think I can get, whatever I have thought and dreamed to manifest it, I've gotten. So when I walk into a place like that, it just put me in the mindset of, am I thinking big enough? What do I truly want out of life? What are my biggest hopes, dreams, and desires? And I think that you really have to 10x your thoughts, man. When you put together what you want to do or what you want out of life, think as big as you can and then think, all right, what would be 10 times this? And then go for that one. You know what I mean? Because even if you fall a little bit short, so say you had a line in the sand right here where you wanted this X or whatever. I don't know how to put if you're not, most people just listen to this. So you want a Lamborghini. Say you know that's your fucking deal. You want a Lamborghini. Then what's 10xing a Lamborghini? I don't know, maybe a fucking Bugatti or some shit.
I was gonna say a plane.
Okay, yeah, maybe a jet. So 10xing a Lamborghini would be a jet. So all right, my goal is a Lamborghini, but I want a 10x that. So fuck it, I'm gonna go for a jet. Even if you don't get the jet, I guarantee you're gonna shoot past the Lamborghini.
Couple Lamborghinis.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I think that when you're first starting out, especially, it's hard to grasp that that's even possible. And once you start getting some wins under your belt, the way I look at it is when I first started fitness coaching on the side, I thought, man, it'd be cool if I could just support my family doing what I love, right? So what do I need? 70, 80 grand a year. So that was my big goal. And then year later, I hit 93. I'm like, okay, well, 6 figures, make an extra 7 grand this year. That doesn't seem like a great goal. So what if I made like $500,000? No, my first goal was 250,000. I was like, man, I can't even imagine. Like, can you imagine $250,000
right.
in a fit doing what I love when I started out doing like 3K my first year?
Right.
Ended up doing about a little over $500,000 that year when I set that goal. And then I almost look at it as if you're standing on the ground, you can only see so far, right? But if you start climbing this mountain that, all right, here's my goal is 100,000. Once you start climbing that mountain, now you can see a little bit further and a little bit further. The more work you put in, the more time you put in. And then you see other people doing it and you're like, oh man, I'm not thinking big enough. I'm not thinking big enough. So if you're not doing jack shit right now, it's really hard to say, okay, well, right now I'm making minimum wage, but I want to make $100 million. But if you do, you're right. Don't just say, well, what's realistic and what's feasible, because
shoot for the stars.
Shoot for the stars, because once you do find something that works and you have a proven blueprint of how to scale it, then the growth is exponential. It's not like, okay, I made $3 grand my first year, so next year I'm going to shoot for 6 and then 12 and then 24. It's like once you learn the shit and you see the people around you, which is what we talk about on every single fucking episode, keeping the people around you
That's what
successful.
I was going to get to, yep.
Once you see what they're doing and what is possible, then yeah, think big. Because I messaged you, I was texting you, I think 3 weeks ago now, and I was at my wife's friend's house, and her husband's super cool dude. We talk sometimes, very successful. And we had a couple drinks in us, and he's like, man, I don't tell a lot of people this, but like he brought up that he and 2 other of his buddies own a plane. I was like, what? So he went and showed me a picture of it. He gave me like all the details of it. And then what was cool is he ended up having 3 more guys over, 2 of which own their own plane. So this party of 5 guys, including me, 60% of the guys there own their own fucking plane.
And not just planes, jets.
Jets, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So then
Not like a little fucking Cessna.
No.
It's a multi-million-dollar jet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and they're getting an ROI on it. Like they're getting money on it because they lease it out and shit. So I messaged you something similar, like, dude, fucking jet, 3-year goals. So that's what we need to be
I said
thinking.
2-year.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But that is, I would have never even thought of that. I would think, yeah, fucking jets. That's for the Ed Milet's and the Grant Cardones of the world. But I know this fucking guy. He's 5 years, 6 years older than me. And he even said to me when we were riding around in his Corvette, because we took it out for a spin to go to the gas station for the girls and pick something up. He's like, dude, you're further along than I was at your age. And that was like, I was like, holy shit, dude. And you have a fucking jet at 40.
Right.
So what's that mean? I got to aim my sights on having a jet by 35, 36.
Right.
But keeping those people in your network is huge, and seeing that it is even feasible, and then just following the path or asking for advice and thinking big, because yeah, you're right, man. As soon as I heard that, I'm a competitive motherfucker, and I want to be successful, and I don't want to go over. I don't want to be in the 40% of the party that doesn't own a jet, right? I want to own the biggest, baddest motherfucking jet at the party.
That's why every time you find or every time we hear about a new stock that's starting up, like a new crypto or something, you're like, well, how much did you put in? I'm going to get in.
Right. Both of us do that.
You're not going to be.
Both of us do that.
You're not going to be a millionaire off this, and I didn't get in.
Right.
Yeah, fuck that. Which,
yeah.
Those bulls sucked. I'm losing money on both of them right now.
It's early.
Huh?
It's early.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But no, you're right. And I've said this many times too, but that's why I love having you in my network, because you do naturally think bigger than I do. And I feel like I'm just now rounding a corner of seeing, because the guy that I modeled my whole business after, when I started following him, he was doing like high 7, low 8 figures. And I'm still making like 10,000 a year. But now I'm still following him, and he's making like 30 million a year. He's getting into private equity, and his plan is to get like into the $100 million mark, because coaching and consulting has a kind of a cap on it. So I'm just been following his journey the whole time. And I'm like, okay, well, I've essentially done what he's done up to this point. So if I just keep seeing, A, it's possible, B, he's laying the groundwork and the foundations of what to do, and making the mistakes for me so I can learn from them before I even get to that point, there's no fucking reason I can't get there, as long as I'm willing to put the work in, I stay focused, and I stay getting after it.
Right.
But yeah, man, I think the worst thing you can do is hit a certain threshold, like
cap.
For a lot of people, it's like 6 figures or a certain spot in a company or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, I'm good now, because then you're just falling behind, because there's people behind you that are working, and then if you stay stagnant, you're falling behind.
Right.
So you always have to look for that next benchmark, and you always have to fucking just think bigger, man. I'm with you.
100%. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the people that surround you, because that is a big part of it, man. Like, if you see people around you doing big things, that's going to make it feasible or possible for you to be able to do those things. Like, it's in your own mind. You know, you see people around you creating great things or doing great things, and you're like, oh, fuck, he could do that? Well, then I can do it too. You know, and that's the biggest thing. Or even, it is good to have like-minded people in your actual circle. And I think you have to have like-minded people in your actual circle that are doing better than you in some areas of your life. But even like just listening to podcasts, you know, getting a coach, hiring a coach that has what you want. Following fucking people that have shit that you want, like say Andy Versella with, you know, Real as Fuck podcast or something like that. Being able to see how those guys talk, how those guys move, and how they live their lives is very fucking inspirational to me. You know what I mean? And it puts it in my mind, like, yeah, if he can fucking do that, that's how I can do things. You know, one of the biggest things, I don't know about biggest things, I learned a lot, but one of the things that I was really impactful to me was like going through their gym at First Form. Everything's fucking meticulous, right? Like perfectly meticulous. And the weights every single weight has a First Form logo on it, right? When you put your fucking plates back, not only do they have to be in numerical order, and, you know, 45s that be 45s, 25s that be 25s. If you're in the gym, which you probably are listening to this podcast, you know how fucking annoying it is when you go to the gym and like the fucking weights are all out of order and people put the 25s right on top of the 45s. This shit is just annoying. But there, you can't fucking do that. And not only can you not do that, but that logo has to be, so say you put a plate back, a 45 pound plate back, that logo has to be up top and center. And if it's fucking 2 inches to the right or to the left, he'll fucking go back on the cameras, figure out who put it back there, and first offense is you lose your gym privileges for like 2 months. Second offense, you lose them for life. Like if you work at this company. And it's crazy because I'm a very meticulous person. And I've always tried to carry that through to my companies. And I have succeeded to some level, which is probably why I'm as successful as I am as far as in my industry, because I'm very detail oriented. But I've never succeeded to that level. Like that's a level of like, damn, how do you fucking be that meticulous, detail oriented with everything that you do and still keep employees? You know what I mean? Like how do people not just quit on you? How do you find guys to hire? And I'm in a little bit different industry than his, and my industry is capped on, it's just very different. I'm not going to go into how, but it's a lot harder for me in the industry that I'm in to do that than it is in the industry he's in. But still, even seeing that to me was like, damn, it's possible.
I got a compliment for you, dude.
It is possible to build this fucking culture to where your guys are that detail oriented and that fucking structured, respectful, whatever it may be. It's fucking possible. And that got me spinning my wheels on like, man, how do I make my shit better to where I can get to that point? How do I build my culture so that I can get to that point? You know, how do I make my employees respect our shit and our clients and all of our stuff better so that we can get to that point? So even just seeing that made it possible in my mind, because before that, I honestly thought, like the thought was honestly like, yeah, this is who I am, but no one's ever going to be like that. I'm never going to be able to create a culture to where everybody's exactly like that. Well, fucking Andy did. If he was able to, I can too. You know?
So your company, Splash Pool and Spa, here in Omaha, is putting a pool in the backyard. And actually, just 2 nights ago, my mom came over to look at it with her husband and my niece or whatever. And my mom was like, man, it's so clean back there. It's like, really? I was like, oh, yeah. Gata he tries to do that. So she's like, yeah, normally you'd see a backyard. It's all messed up with dirt all over the place and tracks all over the mud. Right. But no, it looks spotless back there for as much construction as they're doing. Right. I was like, man, I know he takes a lot of pride in that. So I got to make sure to relay that. I appreciate that.
But that's the thing. I mean, that's what I do want to carry over, because it is the way he explained it is exactly the way that I think too. It's like, listen, if your fucking employees are going to disrespect your gym, which is free to them, then they're going to disrespect other shit too. Like if it's not important for them to watch the small details and something as little as a gym, then it's not going to be important to them to watch the details and the work that they do either. You know, if it's okay to put your logo, or that one's kind of a little, I agree with it, but that one's kind of a little OCD. But if it's all right to throw your fucking 25s on your 45s in the gym and not give a fuck, then it's going to be all right to half-ass your fucking job too, which is not okay, you know? So just big eye-opening experiences. And it is fucking huge, because a lot of times we are our biggest, nobody holds me back like I hold me back. No one holds you back like you hold you back. Like we are our biggest competition. Everybody has a daily battle in their mind every single day with the thoughts that they have in their mind, every single fucking person. And so you have battling thoughts every day in your mind. And whatever thoughts win are the ones that shape your life, that you take action over. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, it really does make a difference. And it does make sense that this stuff is meaningful and that it comes all the way through into everything that you do, you know? But yeah, once you can see something, and I don't want to be, if you're somebody that's never like manifested, or I don't know, if you're like, I'm sure everybody in here's hit goals and knows how to hit goals. I'm not just saying that you're think bigger, like 10x it. So someday I'm going to have a jet, but I have zero plan to get my jet, but somehow it's just going to fucking appear on my front lawn. That's not how it works. What I'm saying is, when you're making your plans for your life, don't cut yourself short. See bigger than you think that you can. See it as a possibility in your mind. Manifest it as a possibility in your mind. Know that you're going to have it. Know that it's going to come to you. Know that it is possible for you. But you still have to have a plan of action to get there, and you still have to continue to keep that in your mind as a possibility in the forefront. Like you can't just manifest one day out of the year and say, fuck it, I'm good. Like I manifest every fucking day. That way I can keep what I want. And a lot of times I'll even feel like, you know, everybody has a day, right? So I'll have days where I got like some negative energy going on in my mind and I feel like ran down and shit's just not going right. I'll take a break from work and go fucking manifest. Because I'm like, no, dude, I got to get my mind right again. I got to get my thoughts right again to what I want. I got to get refocused, recentered. And that's what keeps the dream alive. You know, I like to manifest every fucking day because it keeps it in front of me for what I'm going after, what I'm fighting for, where I'm heading to, what's possible for me in my life and what I'm going to get. And when I can keep that alive and be able to see it and see it as a possibility, a reality that I will have this, then I can stay very, what's the word I'm looking for? I can stay very structured and very focused on the actions that I'm taking to get there on a daily basis.
So there had to have been like a 5-year jump for you when you went from like barely nothing, like barely anything at all to, all right, I'm starting to see quite a bit of success here, right? I mean, you can do so much in 5 years, yet how many of us actually sit down and think, all right, well, what are my 5-year goals? We think maybe a year from now, we think 6 months from now, but you can do so much in 5 years.
Right.
Sometimes I think back in 5 years ago, dude, I mean, I wasn't in the Navy, no, but no, I was 10 years ago. I was in the Navy. I was fucking drunk. I was like shithead kid, like 10 years.
He's still drunk, just more successful.
But you can do, I think there's like a Tony Robbins quote is that we all overestimate what we can do in a month and underestimate what we can do in a year.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Fucking 5 years, dude. You can do so much if you have a plan, and that plan's going to change. Yeah. Don't get me wrong there. But if you just get to work, I would say sit down and think, all right, where could I be in 5 years? And then 10x that, because chances are with your experience so far, you haven't seen that substantial growth. I think it's like the bamboo tree or whatever that takes like 10 years. You plant it like a foot or two under the ground, and it takes like 10 years to bust through the surface. And then it shoots up like 40 feet within 2 weeks. And a lot of the times success is like that too. You have to put in all this work and you think, all right, this is a grind. Analogy. And then just like you hit your stride, you build a network, you figure out the systems, you start hiring people. So now what one man or woman was doing, now you have 10 or 30 or 40 people doing. Just exponential growth. So I would say sit down, say, all right, in a perfect world with no limitations, if everything went my
That's
fucking
the key
way,
right there, no limitations.
Where could I be in 5 years?
Or what's my dream vision? Where would I be?
Yeah.
Not even if you if you even just want to get the biggest dream you possibly can, just set no limitations on yourself. I heard one time a guy, actually Charlie Rocket said it. I think I've said it before on this podcast, but he's like, when I brainstorm, I like to sit on the floor like a little kid. You know, it's like when we were kids, we used to sit on the floor and draw. You know what I mean? He's like, I like to sit on the floor with a piece of paper and brainstorm and just write down thoughts of things that I want. Another thing that was really cool at the summit, I was talking to another RTA member, and we were talking about manifesting. And I'm very fucking clear on what I want and what I see, my vision, things like that. But he was like, man, have you ever actually just sat down though with a piece of paper, and this is like pre-manifestation, but just sat down with a piece of paper and actually took like 45 minutes to just sit there and think about what you want out of life, and then just write down anything that comes to mind. And I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, I've wrote down my manifest of what my dream is, you know, like I know what my dream life is. But he's like, man, you would be surprised when you sit there and just give yourself 45 minutes of silence with a pen and a piece of paper to think about what you truly want out of life. He's like, you would be surprised of what actually comes to that fucking paper. It's like, you'd be surprised of how much shit that subconsciously your mind thinks of, or subconsciously you really want that you don't even know about, you know? So that was something, I haven't done it yet since I've been back, but that's something I want to do too, is actually truly just sit there and just any thought that comes to mind. Not every thought's going to be reality. I mean, maybe you have to, once you're done, you go through and you cross some of them out. Like, man, I don't really give a fuck about that. But I guarantee you it's pretty fucking powerful. And the way that he explained it, it's pretty fucking powerful. And I guarantee you there's going to be some things that you're like, all right, yeah, no, I really do want that, but I didn't even really think about it. Didn't even know I wanted that, you know? And it's not always like, so this, am I thinking big enough, obviously is more geared towards like business, success, money, things, cars, you know, planes, shit like that you want. But really it's in anything in life, like even in your physical fitness, you know, well, I really would like to get to 195 or, you know, whatever someone might have in their mind. Why not say like, man, I want to be lean enough to do a fucking show, you know, or like I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Why not 40 if you really want to be that big?
I hear that,
you know?
on sales calls all the time. It's like, oh, I'll never look like you, but I'd
Yeah.
just be happy if I lost 25.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, yeah, with that mentality, you never will be.
Right.
Because you'll lose 25 and you'll get happy. But if you set your goal on, no, I want to do a fucking show. I want to get absolutely peeled.
Yeah.
Fucking 6% body
And sometimes
fat.
some shit's a process too. Like sometimes you'd have to like, man, I want to do a fucking Olympic show. That might not mean that you just need to drop the weight. You know, you might have to drop fucking 30 pounds and then build shit back up and then drop again. You know, it's a big process, but it's still, what is your main goal? And even like, or what is your dream? Like, are you thinking big enough on anything? Even for my child, my son, you know, what do I want for my son? What kind of life do I want for my son? What do I want to provide for my son? What lessons do I want to teach my son? How do I want my son to see his life and my life? You know, how do I want my son to be raised? You know, even in those questions right there, am I thinking big enough? You know, friendships, love life, everything. You know, you could put this to anything that you want, anything that you see in your dream reality. Am I thinking big enough, or am I just settling?
Something that goes along too with the people in your network. We talked about why having people that are uber successful is important, but it's also probably important to address that if you're just hanging out with people in your network and you're the most successful person out of your friends and your family, and you're just this big fish in a small pond, then it's that much easier to be like, oh, I'm doing pretty fucking good for myself. I made 6 figures this year. All my friends are making 40, 50 grand. Like, life is good. I live in a little bit bigger house. I have a little bit nicer car. I'm doing okay for myself. It's easy to get comfortable and very complacent. Whereas when you're the fucking small fish in a big pond, then it's like, oh shit, I have some catching up to do. And you almost get that fire reignited of like, oh, I don't want to fucking be the loser in this pond. I want to catch up to these fish over here.
Yep.
So just having that perspective, it is easy to get comfortable when all your friends aren't doing as hot. And luckily, my network, I won't even say luckily. I will say luckily, I've had some friends for a decade now, and they're very success driven. They're very growth minded. So I am blessed that I haven't had to cut them out. But at the same time, just like anybody, I've had friends that stay stuck where they're at. They're always doing the same shit, different fucking day. And
Dude, I got a friend that's like right now, I got a friend that is surrounded by shitty fucking friends, shitty people. And for the majority, like the majority of their close friends are just shitty fucking people. And I kind of took this friend under my wing and I'm trying to help him out. You know what I mean? But he will not separate from these shitty ass people. And he prides himself on being the best one out of the group. Well, I don't do the stuff that they do. I'm not as bad as them. I don't do the stuff that they do. Well, no, but here's the thing. Like, one, just because you're not as bad as them doesn't mean that you're not bad. Just because you're not doing shit that's as bad as them doesn't mean that you're doing good shit. You know what I mean? Like, you can't pride yourself on being the best one out of a shitty group. That's not how it works. Two, how are you ever going to move forward and grow? Like, how are you ever going to get better when you're the best one out of everybody that you surround yourself with? That's not growth. You're never going to fucking grow. You're never going to be able to take yourself and become a better person. You're never going to be able to strive for more. You're just plain and simple, never going to be able to grow. And when you're in that situation, which I'm sure some of the people listening may be as well, because it happens a lot. But when you're in that situation where everybody around you sucks and you're the best fucking one out of the group, whether you see it or not, like, you're basing your, how do I say it? You're basing your fucking values and you're basing your
potential.
you're basing your values, your potential, and you're basing it's like guidelines for what's acceptable for you in your life would be the best way I can think about it, off of what they're doing. You know what I mean? And that's not benefiting anybody. That's not benefiting them or you. And you're never going to grow until you get out of that group. You're never going to grow until you get out of that circle. You're never going to grow until you focus on you and your growth, to cut that negative shit out of your life and put some people around you that are doing better, that you can actually strive to fucking beat, have impact on you, catch up to you, whatever it may be. It's just never going to happen.
I look at it as he or she probably has 4 or 5 fucking anchors holding him back.
Exactly. 100%. That's exactly what it
or
is.
Or parachutes even. Like he's here, he wants to get here, and yet, all right, yeah, your 4 or 5 closest people are all holding you back because they're behind you.
Right.
Well, as you know, if you're running a fucking race or anything, anytime you look behind you, you got to slow down, or you might run into a tree or some shit. So
100%.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. If you're stopping, you're not moving forward.
I would say that maybe I'm just not as compassionate as some, but if you're as success driven as you should be, then I mean, I get friendships are friendships, but if they're holding you back and you're like, I need to make this happen no matter what the fuck, which you need to be if you're going to be uber successful. You need to say, this is my goal. I'm going to hit it. No questions asked, no matter what. I mean, maybe you don't want it bad enough if you're like, well, but that excludes telling my friends that I can't go have some beers with them or hang out with them or whatever it is. Like, okay, if this is your goal and you need to make it happen, you got to cut that shit loose, especially if he has a mentor who's as successful as you saying, dude, you need to do this, and he's still not doing it.
Well, that's the thing, man. You can lead the horse to water, but you can never make the horse drink. And when people don't fucking get it, like you get to the point to where I'm about to cut him out, you know? Like it's just not.
You have to, because now he's your anchor. Yeah. Because he's allowing himself to be anchor.
I'm not that close to him, so it's not like he's affecting my life, but still, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just doesn't work. Like if you are that person where every single person around you is worse than you are, then you need to find some new fucking friends. Like you need to find a new group. You need to find some new family members, whatever it may be that's surrounding you. You need to find better. If you want more for your life, you want better for your life, you need to surround yourself with like-minded people that want that same thing and are working towards it and are growing towards it. I like to find people that have something that I don't have. Like nobody's going to have everything that I don't have that I want, but I like to, and every single friend, I like to find someone that has one part of life that I don't have yet, and they have it. You know what I mean? Like this guy might have the fucking relationship I want. This guy might be an amazing father. This guy might have more money than I have. This guy might, be into an area of business like real estate that I want to get into, whatever it may be. And it's funny. It's not like I fucking sit there and like interview my friends, figure out what they have. But it's like when you're in this growth minded state, like I am, they usually just fill in. It usually just works out like that. Like when I'm living my life and that growth and I'm being that same thing to them, that's usually just what comes in and works.
Well, success usually attracts other success, and then the lack of usually attracts likes. Right. So yeah, if you're a fucking drug addict, unemployed, like piece of shit, sorry, that's successful people aren't going to want to come spend their time with you. Who's going to want to spend time with you? People that have drugs, need drugs, are also unemployed throughout the day. That's who you're going to fucking attract.
Right.
So yeah, when you're looking to constantly be improving, you're going to attract other people that are also trying to. I don't even know if we're on the same subject of thinking big anymore, but along the same topics of what you were just saying, is a big lesson I've learned too, is you don't want to just, everyone has advice, right? Yeah. Which is funny. It doesn't matter who they are. They got some great advice for you.
Yeah.
And they
take advice from someone that has what you want.
Yeah. They won't hesitate to tell you where you're fucking up, even if you're leaps and bounds ahead of them in certain aspects. But I would never take advice from somebody who I wouldn't want to wake up as the next day, at least in a certain position.
I would just say only take advice so in that area that you're asking for advice, if they don't have what you want in that area, don't take advice from them.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Don't do it.
spot on.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to, you already, like you were talking about, have that voice in your head trying to talk you out of doing dope shit. And then when
Right.
other people start tacking on, which are just more amplifying negative voices, it's easy to be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I am thinking too big. Maybe a jet. Like if I told my fucking dad, I got out of the Navy, my dad's like, well, if you're really lucky and you work really hard, you could probably get a job in a factory. Like, he literally said that shit to me. You know, like I had to move in with parents when I got out of the Navy, and then I'm like, oh, I found an apartment. I'm going out on my own. He's like, oh no, man, you don't have enough money to do that. I'm like, the fuck, dude. If I told my dad, yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna have a jet in 3 years.
Yeah.
Just I can't even fathom the response I would get. So
This brings me to the last point that I want to make on this podcast, which is fuck what anybody says or thinks.
That's it, right
Like
there.
fuck everybody else. You are never that ties in. Actually, that's a great conclusion to this think big topic, because that is the truth. When you think big, first of all, you thinking big does not mean that you go around town and tell everybody what you're thinking.
Exactly.
Like, you thinking big stays within your fucking mind until you make it happen. Or maybe there's like a few key players that you let know, like a few close friends that can motivate you or press you forward, people that are going to fucking get it. But when you fucking think big, people hate. People do not like you thinking big.
They project, yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of fucking haters out there, and more people hate you than they care about you. Like, there's really only a few people in your fucking life that truly actually give a fuck about you. Most of them are fucking haters. Most of them are jealous. Most of them don't want to see you succeed. That's just the fucking reality of it. But when you have the haters, that means you're doing something right. That means you're on the right fucking track, right? So fuck what everybody else thinks. This is your life. At the end of the day, they're not paying your fucking bills. They're not going to be there when you're crying yourself to sleep. Like, they're not going to be there to fucking pick you up when you fell. They don't give a fuck. The majority of them.
They're not going to even be able to afford fuel in your jet.
So, but yeah, fuck everybody else. These goals are for you. This is your life, not their life. You think big for you. Doesn't matter what the fuck anybody else says, does, thinks about your fucking plan, thinks about what you want out of your life. Fuck them all. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So ask yourself in everything that you do, and this will be the conclusion of the podcast, but ask yourself in everything that you do, am I thinking big enough here? I almost want to get it tattooed on me. Am I thinking big enough? Or just maybe big enough.
Think big.
Think bigger. There you go.
10x.
Yeah, big enough right by your crotch or something. No, think bigger. But am I thinking bigger?
Wish it was bigger.
Yeah, right. Am I thinking big enough? That's the whole point. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Dads Who Live podcast. Hope you got, if you got anything useful out of this, all we're trying to do is add value. Please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We don't run any ads. We want to grow this thing organically. So if you can just tell a person, they'll tell a person. That's how we grow this thing. Tell one friend. We really appreciate it. We are on all the podcast links. We're on like Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, all the shit. iHeartMusic, I think now. We're on like everything. You can find all the links on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. We also have apparel there as well. These dope ass hats, shirts, hoodies, stuff like that on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official. We're on Facebook as Dads Who Lift Podcast. And for any dads, we have a Facebook group called Dads Who Lift Official. Again, that's a group on Facebook which has like 50,000 like-minded dads trying to be their best selves and stay fit at the same time. So if that's something that interests you, you can check that out as well. But yeah, think bigger.
It's forever, you know, this like forever, no surrender. It's forever, you know, this like forever. I'm bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I'm bigger dead than alive, dead than alive. Yeah, I'm bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive.